Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for standing by, and welcome to the What's the Best Way to Evaluate Benefits or Claims webinar. During the presentation, all participants will be in a listen-only mode. If you would like to ask a question during the presentation, please use the chat feature located in the lower left corner of your screen. And if you need to reach an operator at any time, please press *0. As a reminder, this conference is being recorded Wednesday, November 7th, 2013. And I would now like to turn the conference over to Silvana Melenkova. Silvana joined BuzzBack in 2006 and focuses on early-stage product development, packaging, and communications research. She has a versatile background, conducting both qualitative and quantitative research in a variety of industries, including technology, CPG, and healthcare, and specializes in early-stage product development, decision-making, as well as communication research. Fluent in 5 languages and an experienced global researcher, she brings over 15 years of client-side experience. Welcome, Silvana Melenkova, SVP of Research and Strategic Direction. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining today. What we want to talk about today very briefly is how we can look and evaluate claims. And what we're going to cover in this specific session is where the business need is coming from and how that maybe has changed throughout the years for most of our clients, regardless of which industry or what job function they work in. We'll also show you a case study that we've worked on. We know we've done a few of these by now, and this is just one example of how we looked at a number of methodologies to understand which one of these maybe best meets our objectives and how people can think about claims. And then kind of bring that back out to hopefully give you some higher level learning or implications for your business if you are grappling with claims. And as everything we do, we also want to focus on understanding. So it's not just about the numbers, but it's the why and the how behind them. And we'll show you one way that we actually got at least a little bit more information on which the top claims were and why maybe they were the top claims. So when you look at claims, at least for today, we'll look at evaluating claims in the context of a product refresh and a line extension. You can also think of them in the context of developing a brand new product, which we do a lot for our clients, or even, as putting some on packaging and communications. And the way we'll do this is we'll look at side by side at a number of methodologies and add in kind of more of a diagnostic component, which could either be qualitative forums or just general qualitative research. It can be mobile work depending on what you're trying to find out, and that's actually what we'll focus on today, as well as you could do a hybrid qual-quant approach. And why claims? There is a lot of research and a lot of talk being done today, and here are some statistics around this as how hard it is to have a successful launch, especially when it comes to new products. And most of that's attributed to the fact that a lot of the American households end up buying the same 150 products. So it's very hard to break through. There's a lot more clutter on the shelves, a lot less space. And a lot of, at least, our clients are coming to us with less advertising dollars. And they want their claims and their names and their packaging to work a lot harder for them than it needed to in the past. So claims have become a lot more important. And for a good reason. A lot of the reasons behind that are that, sometimes people are looking to motivate purchase with claims, to even describe their product or increase its appeal, to draw attention if it's something new, or to differentiate if you're doing kind of the refresh that we'll look at today. But those claims have become part of a general, broader communication and advertising agency strategy. How we got here? Well, it used to be that there wasn't a very structured approach to claim. Claim was a lot more like naming. There were a lot of internal brainstorms or qualitative work, or they sometimes just came determined by R&D, or we just did trial and error. In fact, I remember years ago sitting in a room with folks from marketing and brand and advertising and the R&D department trying to describe what it was at the time one of the first smartphones. And we knew we had something new and unique. We just didn't know how to talk about it in a consumer-friendly way. So we had people focusing on the tech specifications, others on kind of the user experience, and nobody could agree. We didn't have a structured way of thinking about what we want our descriptors or our benefits to do. So we just picked actually the one that was the least offensive one to everybody. So now things have quite changed. I don't need to tell clients how important claims are. They actually come to me with specific questions in mind and need to evaluate them. Where there is, still some discussion is as to whether one approach is better than the next or which approach would best fit their objectives. And as you can see, there are a lot of things we can pick from. We have clients who come with a specific approach in mind. So some want to do sequential, some look at max diff, others are looking for conjoints, and others just are pretty much methodology agnostics but are trying to do the best job they can when it comes to their product and brand. And this is kind of why we set up to do this research on research. What our objective was, and that's what we'll cover today, is looking at a number of methodologies and trying to see what can we uncover about them. Can we look at them side by side and see what each brings to the party, if you will? And in doing that, we actually had to think of some general philosophies or notions people have when it comes to claims and benefits evaluations. So some of those beliefs are around, the scales being more accurate than others. So there's the camp, of people who would think that you get more data points, so you get more precision. Or, some people from that camp might also say that, the forced choice is unrealistic. Why ask people to pick from things that they'll never maybe see in real life? On the other hand, other people would argue that scales are hard to understand or provide a bias. Or, in some cases, people can't interpret scales in different countries. So, there's differences in the way people would rate the exact same thing in Japan and maybe in China or the US. And, other people would probably rightfully point out that some of the midpoints of the scales are hard to differentiate. I get asked all the time, what's the difference between somebody picking a 3 or somebody picking a 4 on the 7-point scale? And that's a very good question. So that's kind of why we decided to take these broader notions into considerations of picking which methods to focus on, at least in this part of this research. And we have a lot more research to do on this topic. So what did we do? First, we created a concept for a cookie. And this was supposed to bring a little bit of an extension. It was supposed to be a better for you cookie. It had all the sweet goodness, the greatest ingredients, and it had this kind of healthier, better for you slant. We also used that to provide context for our claims research. And we came up with 15 claims, which you can see range from taste and texture, ingredients, specific things that we thought made this cookie healthier. And we had 15 of these claims. Then we decided to use these 15 claims and evaluate them in 3 different ways. So we looked at your straightforward sequential monadic approach, the max diff exercise, and the Kano model. And for sequential monadic and max diff, we actually had 2 independent cells to kind of dive a little deeper within those. So for the sequential monadic, we showed the claims on their own in isolation with no context besides the concept. And in another cell, we actually showed the claims on pack, which was on the cookie pack. And for the max diff, we looked at claims shown in sets of 4s and sets of 6s. The idea there was to see whether there's a point where we might overwhelm respondents and find out what kind of results we get in terms of how many items we present at the same time. Our target was broad, it was purchases of cookies, and we had quantitative samples, so we were able to draw some conclusions from this research. So a little bit more detail on the 3 approaches. Sequential was pretty straightforward. We asked them to look at each of the claim and rate them on a set of key metrics. As I said before, we wanted to see whether putting them in isolation or on pack made a difference. For the max diff, people saw either claims in sets of 4 and picked their best and worst, or in sets of 6 and did the exact same thing. And then we did this Kano exercise, which is a little different, and I'll go in a little bit more detail in a minute. But basically what Kano does is asks people 2 questions per claim, and one is called the functional question, which is essentially how would you feel if this benefit was present? And the second is the dysfunctional question, which is how would you feel if it was absent? And the respondent again picks from a scale, but the difference in Kano is that it ties the respondent's perception of the claims and rating of the claims to customer satisfaction. So the idea behind this is that you want that to tie to kind of your broader brand and product identity. And then we look at the results and split people into different categories, and your claims get bucketed by attractive, one-dimensional, indifferent, and must-be's or must-haves. I'll explain to you a little bit later what these mean, but it's a little different because it gives us a little bit more ways to look at the claims than just stratifying them or looking at kind of which are the top ones, which are the middle, which are the bottom ones.